You will never be more alone than when you're surrounded by 4,538 people who are just as trapped as you are. No exit, no escape hatch, no weekend where you drive home and decompress on the couch. Just gray steel in every direction, the smell of jet fuel baked into everything you own, and an ocean so vast and indifferent that the ship you're standing on, all 100,000 tons of it, disappears into it like a grain of sand. Welcome to the USS Gerald R. Ford. Population 5,000. Nearest neighbor 500 miles of open water. Most people look at an aircraft carrier and see power, raw, undeniable American military power. And they're not wrong. But power is the easy part of the story. The hard part, the part that doesn't make it into recruitment brochures, is what it actually costs to keep that power running. Not in dollars, in human beings, in sleep, in sanity, in the slow, grinding pressure of living inside a machine that was never designed with your comfort in mind. Because that's the truth nobody says out loud. An aircraft carrier is not built for the people inside it. It's built around them. They are components. Essential, irreplaceable, deeply human components, but components nonetheless. And the machine never stops. Let's start with something deceptively simple: hunger. Every single day, the system demands 18,000 meals. Not suggestions, not approximations. 18,000 individual meals produced on schedule, served hot, consumed fast, repeated without interruption for 90 consecutive days. That's the number. It doesn't care if the ship is rolling in 3-0 foot swells. It doesn't care if flight operations have been running for 14 straight hours and the galley staff hasn't sat down since 4 a.m. The number stays the same. The schedule holds. The food comes out, and here's the contrast that should stop you cold. A busy McDonald's, one of the highest volume food operations most Americans ever walk into, serves maybe 400 people on a packed afternoon. The Ford does 45 times that every day, while the building moves. But here's what the system doesn't tell you. Behind those 18,000 meals are human beings who chose this. Navy culinary specialists who trained at real culinary schools, who compete in cooking competitions, who take genuine pride in the bread they pull from ovens at 3 inches the morning. They bake fresh loaves daily. They do Taco Tuesday and steak night and pizza runs that would embarrass some civilian restaurants. The system demands output. The humans inside it quietly, stubbornly demand meaning. That tension lives in every corner of this ship. Now think about water. You are in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. Water surrounds you in every direction for hundreds of miles, and not a single drop of it is drinkable. You are, by every practical measure, in a desert. So, the ship makes its own. Nuclear-powered desalination plants, buried 3 decks below the waterline, pull raw seawater in and push out 400,000 gallons of fresh water every 24 hours. By the time it reaches the tap, it has been filtered, irradiated, chemically treated, and tested more rigorously than almost anything coming out of a municipal system on land. It is, measurably, cleaner than what most Americans drink at home. The system solves the problem completely, efficiently, invisibly. And the sailor who showers in that water, who has been awake for 18 hours, whose rack smells like someone else's sweat, who hasn't had a real moment of privacy in 6 weeks, that sailor doesn't think about the engineering marvel delivering water to his skin. He thinks about home. He thinks about the last real shower he took in a bathroom with a door that locked, in a house where he could be alone for 5 minutes without the world demanding something from him. The system produces the water. It cannot produce the feeling of being clean. Power comes from 2 A1B nuclear reactors sitting deep in the ship's hull. Each one generates enough electricity to light a city of 100,000 people. Together, they run everything: the radar arrays, the weapons systems, the catapults that hurl $70 million jets into the sky, the lights in the operating room, the refrigeration keeping 90 days worth of food from rotting, the servers running satellite uplinks so 5,000 people can video call their kids before bed. The margin for error in those reactor compartments is not small, it is zero. Mathematically, philosophically, operationally, zero. The sailors who work there spend nearly 2 years in specialized training before they're permitted inside. 2 years of intensive schooling just to earn the right to stand in that room and be responsible for the thing that keeps everyone alive. Most of them are 22 years old. Let that land. A person who cannot legally rent a car in most American states is the last line of defense between a functioning nuclear reactor and catastrophe, and they handle it quietly, completely, without recognition from anyone who doesn't already know what that room requires. That is the psychological architecture of this ship in miniature. Enormous responsibility, distributed invisibly, carried by people young enough that the civilian world still considers them kids. Now, go up to the flight deck. This is where the machine shows its teeth. Aircraft, weighing 70,000 pounds, launch from a standing stop to 165 miles per hour in under 3 seconds. They return and slam into arresting cables, moving at the same speed, controlled crashes every single time, in daylight, at night, in rain, in wind, that would close civilian airports. During peak operations, this happens every 90 seconds. The people making it happen wear color-coded jerseys like it's an ordinary job with ordinary departments. Yellow shirts direct aircraft movement. Red shirts handle live weapons. Purple shirts fuel jets with enough propellant to level a city block if something goes wrong. Green shirts manage the catapult and arresting systems, the physics of which, if miscalculated by any meaningful margin, turn a $70 million aircraft into wreckage and a 20-year-old into a casualty. These are not seasoned veterans with decades of experience operating heavy equipment. Many of them graduated high school 2 years ago. Some of them are still figuring out who they are as people, while simultaneously being trusted with equipment that most governments don't possess. The system trained them, shaped them, placed them exactly where they were needed. And then the system stepped back because at the moment of execution, when the signal gets called and the jet goes into the sky, there is a human being making a decision that no algorithm can make for them. That's the thing about a carrier that the schematics never capture. The machine is extraordinary, but it only works because of what the people inside it are willing to absorb. Below the flight deck, below the hangar bay, below the engine spaces, there are compartments where 4,539 people try to hold onto something recognizable as a life. Sleep happens in racks 3 bunks, stacked floor to ceiling, each one roughly the dimensions of a coffin. That's not dramatic language. That's approximate measurement. The rack has its own small light, its own thin curtain that gives the illusion of privacy, its own ventilation nozzle you can point at your face when the air gets thick with 5,000 people breathing it at once. Sailors stuff the space with photos, with books, with small objects from home that serve no practical function whatsoever, and that is precisely why they're there, because the system has no use for sentiment. The humans inside it cannot survive without it. Junior sailors share large bays with 40, sometimes 60 bunkmates. There is no silence. There is no darkness when you want darkness. Someone is always coming off shift, always trying not to wake the person above them, always failing. Senior enlisted might share a room with just one other person, a luxury so significant it becomes a thing people work toward for years. The captain's quarters, the single most private space aboard, would feel tight to anyone accustomed to a normal bedroom. And it goes on. Not for a weekend, not for a week. For months, no Saturdays, no holidays, No moment where the pressure genuinely releases and you get to just stop. The ship does not observe Christmas. It does not care about your birthday. Maintenance schedules don't shift for anniversaries. The ocean doesn't pause because someone got a phone call from home and needs an hour to process it. The psychological weight of sustained confinement at this scale is something most civilian psychology barely has language for. It is not one dramatic breaking point. It is the accumulation of 1,000 small erosions of privacy, of silence, of autonomy compounding daily for the length of a deployment. And yet, this is the part that doesn't fit neatly into any framework of understanding on calm days. When the seas flatten and the ops tempo briefly eases, crew members drag grills onto the flight deck. They cook burgers and laugh at bad jokes, surrounded by nothing but open ocean and sky in every direction, no land, no landmarks, no evidence that any other world exists. They call it a steel beach picnic. It should feel absurd. Somehow, it doesn't. Somehow, it feels like exactly what humans have always done. When the pressure lets up for an hour, they find each other, they make food, and they act like everything is going to be fine. Talent shows happen in the hangar bay, the same space where $90 million aircraft get serviced with sailors from every background doing things they'd never admit to doing in front of strangers back home. Chaplains hold religious services in corridors that smelled like hydraulic fluid the day before. Sailors earn college degrees online between watch rotations, sitting in the same chair where they just completed a 1-2 hour shift. Building a future in the margins of a life that barely has any. The system gave them the satellite uplink. The humans decided what to do with it. This ship can sustain everything you've just read for 90 straight days without touching land. 90 days of flight operations, surgical procedures, nuclear reactor maintenance, fresh bread, desalinated water, weapons handling, waste processing, mental health counseling, and 1,000 other functions, all simultaneously, all continuously, all while navigating through storms that generate 30-foot waves and hurricane-force winds that would shut down civilian ports entirely. America runs 11 of these right now. 11 cities, afloat, armed, and populated. Each one cost more than $13 billion and nearly a decade to construct. Each one represents a strategic commitment so serious that the countries watching them from satellite imagery adjust their foreign policy accordingly. But here is the thing, that the $13 billion figure and the satellite imagery and the impressive specification sheets will never fully convey. None of it moves without a specific person choosing to show up. A 20-year-old from a small town who signed a contract, learned an impossible job, and now performs it in the dark, tired, far from home, on a ship that was not built for his comfort because the alternative is that the machine fails and people die. That calculation happens 5,000 times over, every single day, on every single carrier. 5,000 individual human decisions to keep going, keep working, keep holding the line, even when the system offers no comfort and the ocean offers no mercy. The carrier is extraordinary. The engineering is extraordinary. But the extraordinary thing, the thing that actually makes it all work, is ordinary people agreeing quietly and without ceremony to be more than the system requires them to be. That is what 5,000 Americans are doing right now, somewhere on the Pacific, living inside a machine, refusing to become one.